I thought you were getting ready to get started on that new project. What happened? Um, I seem to be spinning my wheels. I can't find my groove. Hey, this is Michelle Spiva, your practical priestess of wisdom, and I want to welcome you to today's podcast of Wisdom Smack. Mwah! So join me on the flip as I get into some wisdom smacks on how to get things done. I'll see you then. Have you gotten excited about something, collected data, bought your materials, source materials, or whatever it is, and only to get into the project and not be able to get traction or get started, or the dreaded not be able to finish? Well, if you like me, that's very frustrating. And today we want to look at some wisdom smacks on some of the things that you can look at to help you increase your chances of how to get things done. So, because we got something that, a lot of stuff to cover, let's go on and get into it. So, the first thing I want to say is when you're thinking about projects and accomplishments, there are usually going to be two schools of thought, two schools of people and how they approach things. And of course, you can be an outlier from these, but for the most part, you're going to have your planners and you're going to have your jump in and get stuff done, or in the writing world, we call them pantsers, like fly by the seat of your pants. And so, of course, a planner is just how you imagine them. They're going to be a person who is going to study twice to only try to cut once. Whereas the pantser is going to get started and go along the way, doing what they need to along the way to get done. And neither way is bad. Just want to say that. Excuse me. Okay. So, whichever way you are, that is fine. I'm going to say that normally when I'm starting out something new, I tend to be a strong planner. But if I continue to do things in that vein, the more I learn, the more I turn into a pantser. And that's fine as well. So yes, you can be one or the other or both, given the situation. So, but moving, so now that we have that established, what I want to do is I want to move past the quote unquote productivity, because there are so many things, good wisdoms out there already that deal with productivity and how to manage yourself and that type of stuff. And instead, I want to get to the wisdom underneath it to help us get a handle on this so we can get some stuff done. Okay. All right. So, the first thing I want to say is when looking at a project or an aspiration, a goal, or even when you're just tackling life in general, it's I have found best to think of it in totality. And of course, it sounds so simple, but in application, it can be so hard. But if you could try to remember to think that in cycles of beginning, middle, end, repeat, beginning, middle, end, repeat. Okay. So let's break those down real quick and then we'll go from there. All right. So your beginning. Think of your beginning as achieving the new level of accomplishment. So most people, when they start out something, they look at the goal as the final achievement. And they fail to realize the missed opportunity in preparing themselves to do what it takes to truly meet the goal. So, a reframing is what we're talking about here. Instead of, oh, write this paper, finish this book, lose this weight, or whatever the goal might be for you, instead of thinking of that as the end, think of that as only the beginning. And what you're going to find is that wonderful computer, your brain, and it's not just a computer, but you understand that wonderful processing that happens in your brain is going to prepare you to treat it as something where you are just beginning. And you might say, well, Michelle, how can that be the beginning? That's my ultimate. No, it's really not. Trust me. Because if you get it, when you get it, because of how we're made as human beings, you're going to be asking yourself, what next? And you're going to always have something after that. So just get in the habit of reframing, excuse me, you guys, of reframing whatever you're wanting to go after as your beginning. Because after that, now this is where the wisdom starts coming in, and this is where when I started getting this wisdom smack, it started helping me to find my propulsion again, to find my mojo, to find the ability to get started. And that is the middle. I know it sounds so simple, and that's usually how wisdom is, y'all. Let's just be honest. When true wisdom comes, it's like duh moments all the time. All right, so the middle. The middle is the maintaining ground. It is how what you do, and we have the saying where I am: what you do to get your baby, you got to do to keep your baby. And that means all of the energy, enthusiasm, and effort that you use to obtain your goal, you need to make sure that you're able to sustain all of that energy and effort to maintain your goal, because there is something about getting something where you activate this gravity pull, pulling you back down to another to a lower level, and a lot of people don't plan for it. See, that's why I'm asking you to reframe a goal as the beginning point, because if you set yourself up for understanding that that's just the first part of this cycle, then you won't lose as much energy when once you get to that goal, because you'll understand that my journey with this particular goal is not complete. I've only achieved the first part of it. And so in the middle part is where a lot of things start to happen. And that's another reason why it takes so much effort to maintain your gains. But once you maintain your gains, then you start moving to the end. And in the end, that's where you start to feel restless for some people, or you start to feel a little boredom for other people. And that's your tip off that you're at the end of that cycle. And then it repeats again, where you move on to the next goal, the next level. All right. So now that we've talked about the overview of the cycle of getting things done, achieving things, we're going to look at the middle, beginning, and end with each one of them. So, in the beginning, of course, there is a lot of preparation, study, preparation, and achievement. Because remember, part of the beginning is actually achieving the prescribed goal that you want to go after, or the thing that you want to accomplish. So, in your preparation, you want to learn, practice, do. Learn, practice, do. And that is so that you'll be able to go through what Josh Kaufman says in his uh, 20 hours to learn anything in 20 hours book. He proposes that there is a certain amount of frustration that happens when you are starting to learn a new goal, and then after that you move into a practice time where you have to start practicing to get better, and it's a very hard time. And then after the practicing, then you move into a quote unquote perfecting, where you're familiar with it now. Maybe you're having to build some new mental synapses to train your mind on this new skill, new effort, new area. And then after that, you work on perfecting. And so there's a four part that he talks about in his book about how to learn something. And so the frustration stage of this is going to either be the longest or the most painful. And it's a lot of times where people start to mess up. Yep. It's where people give up, because it's very painful to uh, encounter something new. And the way our mind, not the brain necessarily, but yes, the brain is included, but the way our minds work is what is known equals good, what is unknown equals bad. And the older we get, our minds try to fight what is new because it perceives it as bad. That is why habits can be so ensconced, because a habit is known, and thus the mind thinks that it is good. To break that habit, to introduce something else, is bad, and the mind wants to return us back to what is known. That's why when you have people trying to break habits of smoking or overeating or whatever, it is hard because of that. And because we now know that, that is why I ask you to reframe achieving the goal as only the first part, the beginning part of the cycle, because of the fact that you are rewiring your brain to accomplish certain things now. All right. So in the beginning, we have our goal or our project or whatever it is to completion. That's just the beginning. uh Either you're a planner or you're a pantser. And if you are a planner, that means that you're going to, um during the learn phase, you're going to learn, by doing your research, vetting, assembling your materials, raising the capital, or whatever it is. If you are a pantser, you're going to try to learn, practice. So yours will be a little different, but hey, each one will get you there. I just need you to get there. All right. So after we move from this beginning part, where the goal of the beginning is to achieve the thing that you said you were going to achieve, then we move into the great wisdom of getting things done, to the middle ground. And that is where you start to learn to maintain the goal. You see, you cannot really have a completion of doing something until you can maintain it. Because in the maintenance is where the habit is. You can't replace a habit, excuse me, is where equal opposite or a overriding habit has to be made. And in the maintenance, this is where the battle begins. Okay. And that is that a formidable foe shows up, and you would think that the foe would show up at the beginning. And yeah, it does a little bit, but we know that we go through the frustration stage, and so we combat that because it's still new, and we combat it. But in this maintenance stage, we have to fight this foe of confusion. And I'm going to tell you, never succumb to confusion. Fight confusion at all costs. And what do I mean when I say confusion? Confusion will come in very cunningly to give you question of, are you doing the right thing to maintain your goal? Confusion will try to get you to change up the stuff that you did to get to your goal, when you have not even proven that what you did to get your goal needs to be changed. Confusion will do a lot with messing with your gains that you've gotten during your first stage. And so, what I want you to look at is, understand, once you have quote unquote obtained the goal, it is now time for you to make yourself, or manage yourself, however you want to couch that. It's time for you to make yourself become, um, okay with, and make this your new normal. And making this your new normal, you want to break through the confusion, because now you understand what's going to happen in this cycle. What you're going to do is, first, this is where you're going to get organized. Now, again, beginning, middle, and repeat. In the beginning, you're going to go through the whole thing of getting started. You're going to understand the process of building a skill, where you have your frustration. Don't give up, because then, when you power through the frustration, you move into the ability to practice. You're still getting stuff, wrong here and there, but then you move into where you start becoming proficient, and then you move into perfecting it. So, and that means that you will be able to do the goal. Once you get to that, this is where you really got to step it up and continue to bring as much energy, if not more. And this is where a lot of productivity stuff, a lot of rote behavior happens, a lot of overriding a strong compulsion to revert back to life before the new goal. A lot of people, including myself, we've gone on diets, we've had success, and boom, we hit that success, and immediately the downfall starts to happen where we revert back to where we were. And it is because of this middle ground, this battle that happens. And so one of the wisdoms that I want to give you to make it through this is, first and foremost, understand that this is where the real energy is going to have to come. The energy that you put in to get to that goal is only the ramp up. The maintaining the goal is where a lot of the work has to happen. So do that by, and I call this, a litmus test. Understand what you must have versus what's nice to have. Okay. And what that causes you to do is, a lot of people view the things that they did to get to their goal as nice to have instead of mandatory, and vice versa. By simply being able to change the priority from nice to have to mandatory on the things that you did to get to your goal, as well as stepping up the mandatories, you then infuse new energy and life into your plan. Yeah. And not for nothing, also, during this maintenance time, this is where you have to start in building your endurance and stamina. And that is not just for executing the successful maintenance of the goal, it is also for changing your mental composition of what life is like. That people don't realize when you're trying to get things done, you're trying to maintain your gains, they don't guard the back gate of their mental capacity to understand this is truly my new normal. This is my new life. This is what my new life uh, contains if I want to have these things and maintain these goals and build on these goals. And so by simply imbuing yourself with an understanding that the middle ground is where it's really going down, you'll do very well, because the middle is the longest part of the cycle. And so you got to be able to strap in and buckle in, and go for it. Because if you don't, you're going to lose even the goal. If you don't believe me, just go out there and not be prepared for hitting the goal as the first stage. It's just, you're setting yourself up. I'm just trying to help you. Okay. All right. So with that, look for, and this is something that I have had to learn during that middle passage of maintaining and overriding the stuff that I used to fall into. And this actually happened when I was making the transition from working for someone to working for myself. And I'd get I'd get a little success here or there, only to lose it because of this middle ground and the confusion that came, and the mental bartering and the trickery that would happen. And that was, what I would do is, I would take my eye off the goal, because I would find that I would get stuck in other people's ruts. I would start to listen to the people out there who thought they were doing me well. Michelle, you need to go on and get a job. Uh, you don't need to be struggling this hard. Um, Life doesn't have to be like that. Just go on and get you a job, because, it's hard. And I don't understand why you continue to do this. And I actually listened a few times. Oh, yes. Because prior to the time when I just totally was like, I don't care. This is my life. This is what I do. I was in that state of confusion, in the middle ground. I had, had a little bit of success, and then I let that formidable foe of confusion come up. I didn't realize what was mandatory to keep the gains that I had gotten, and thus I got confused and I gave up ground, and then I got stuck in other people's ruts where I tried to live by other people's expectations, rules, and get this, their limitations. It took me a long time. And listen to me, dear one. Listen to me. Please listen to me. It took me a long time to realize what was happening. I am not them and they are not me. And their limitations on what they believe is possible should never become my false wisdom for what is possible for me. Every person has a different life to lead. And if you have worked and put effort in to not maintain, but to get to a point, the universe is conspiring on your behalf. And just because you might be in your middle passage, your middle ground, where you are fighting to override the wiring that has been there way longer than your new activities, don't succumb to confusion. You guys, this is good stuff. This is timeless eternal wisdom that I hope gets all down in your soul and spirit, so that when you get to this point, not if, when you get to this point, it'll come back up to encourage you and to give you some clarity. And with that, the clarity during the middle part, to keep you going, to get you unraveled from your confusion, I want you to push aside other people's ruts, limitations, rules, and expectations so that you can start to listen to the screams of the internal whispers of your own when you're out here trying to get stuff done. And maybe, like I said, you have achieved and it's getting harder and harder to keep going because the pull of gravity, or the fancy word is called homeostasis. And that simply means it's a system set up within our, down to our molecular cell level, that tries to keep an equilibrium. And thus it fights you to try to return you back to what it thinks is normal. For some people, especially in the diet world, they call it a set point, where it's kind of like what your thermometer, I mean, not the thermometer, excuse me, what your thermostat is set at. When you're in those times and you are fighting against your internal thermostat to move into your new normal, listen to the screams of the whispers. I know it might sound woo woo, but what it is it's your internal mastery, your internal wisdom that becomes a north star. And it is a little small voice, inkling, a gut feeling that is there, that if you latch onto it, is going to help you to overcome the maelstrom of emotions that meet you to try to combat you in the middle ground. It gets you over the hump of desperation. It gets you over the hump of uncertainty. And it gets you over the hump of succumbing to societal pressures to conform, or to recoup your losses. That was another one that I had to overcome, because other people were looking in, thinking they were helping me, when they were part of resistance's barrage on my cycle of getting things done and of accomplishing things. Okay. So you might say, well, how do I know when I've successfully made it through the middle part of this cycle of getting things done? You'll know when you start feeling a restlessness, or a boredom, or uncomfortableness to want to do more, to move forward. Usually that's when people, and I'm going to tell you, some people's middle part can last for years, where some others can last for weeks or days. And it's simply that person with whatever the goal is of things that you need to get done. All right. let me take one simple one for you just real quick. Say for instance, your goal is to get your garage cleaned out or ordered, right? You do it. Maybe you have a garage sale. You make arrangements with the city to come and pick up large things that you don't want anymore. You go to the store, you get organizing shelves and you do all of this stuff. And you think, "Oh, I got the garage organized." No, you did the first step. Getting the garage organized means that now you don't fill it back up with crap and you learn how to maintain that. And when life comes and someone says, "Oh, I have this great executive desk. It cost me this much money, but I want to move. I'm moving to a different state, and you can come pick it up and have it for $50." And you know that, yeah, I want to have an executive desk because I want to put it in my office. And they bring it. And guess where you tell them to put it? Put it on that side in the garage because I've got room now. Well, that is a challenge to maintaining your goal. Your goal is to have your garage open. And I'm being hypocritical here because I do have part of my office in my garage. And I know that I've got to get it organized again. If you are really in this middle passage, then you're going to make sure that you find somewhere for that desk to go. You use it so that you can maintain what you have gained. And then you'll know that it's time to move on to something else because without even having to think about it, you always do what's needed to maintain the state of the orderliness of your garage. You see what I'm saying? So, okay. So let's talk about this ending, gearing up for the next level. So the next thing is as you are gearing up for the next level, you start to feel this unrestlessness and you start to want to add on, move forward, you get ideas about new things. And it doesn't, and I have found that the ending is very quick. It's kind of like your sights are set on something else. You're salivating over something else and you start getting, you guessed it, the ideas, the inspiration, the excitement about your next project. And that's when you're ready to repeat the cycle. And so that's how you go over and over again. So now you, like I said, most no, most of the times getting things done, the preparation and all of that is just part of the very, very beginning. The execution of your plans, the implementation, and all that stuff. Yes, you can definitely use productivity tools and the like. And I encourage you to. But I'm going to tell you, be aware that achieving the goal is only the first stage. That middle stage, that is where some stuff going to go down. If you are not prepared for it, if you're not ready to use a whole bunch more energy for maintenance than you did for obtaining the goal in the first place, you're already sunk in the water and you will find yourself continuously in a loop of trying to get something done, never advancing because of the fact that you're ill prepared. And being ill prepared is based on an area of ignorance, that the middle ground is where everything is won or lost, and that it takes energy to override what has been habit for a while. Don't expect that just because you said you were going to lose weight and eat this way, that life is not going to try you once you get to your goal weight. And what you do to maintain is actually more than you do to get to the goal. And so understanding that before you even start on the beginning part is amazingly helpful because our subconscious, our minds, our bodies, our soul, spirits, everything works in accordance to what you expect. And that is something that I want to leave you with. What you expect is what you get, not what you hope for, not what you desire, not what even you plan for. You normally get what you truly expect. And I know, I hear you saying, "Well, Michelle, I've expected a lot of things only to have my hopes dashed." Did you really? Did you really? Or did you just try it one time and it didn't line up with what you wanted because maybe you didn't prepare well enough. And it just showed you some great insights and wisdom on how to make sure that when you do it again, it's going to work. Yeah. And so reframing what you're doing, reframing you, and understanding the entire journey before is a great help in helping us to get things done. All right. So guess what, y'all? Yep, my time is up. I thank you for yours. Oh, thank you so much for supporting the podcast, listening in. I really hope that this is helping you to expand and grow your abilities and the wisdom in your life. And so I got to close it down. This has been Michelle Spiva, your practical priestess of wisdom, with another podcast of Wisdom Smack. Don't forget to check the show notes and please consider supporting the show. Until then, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. And that's going to do it for today's podcast of Wisdom Smack with Michelle Spiva. If you like this podcast, please help us get the word out. Like, comment, subscribe, and even share. And if you really like it, please help us continue to get the word out by considering using this show's link for Amazon. So when you want to go to Amazon and you do all of your general shopping, please use michellespiva.com/AMZ. It's simple as that. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and this show might receive a little bit of commission that will go towards helping to further get these episodes out to you and to others. So thank you so much for listening. This has been Michelle Spiva with Wisdom Smack. Bye.